Our next speaker, so Motive was founded around mobile development. That's where the name came from, started in 2009, and bringing people together and started our first conferences, getting my feet wet, how to actually organize a conference. There was a little company out of Charlottesville called WillowTree Apps, and they were building mobile applications for large enterprise companies, and it was growing really fast, and it's really, really cool to be here a decade later. They sponsored some of our very early mobile developer conferences, and to see Tobias and what he's actually been able to build with WillowTree. They are a force to be reckoned with, and doing things around the world. Tobias, come on up. Let's give it up for Tobias Dengel, the CEO of WillowTree. Thank you, Tobias. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. So, as Pete said, we come at this from a different direction. We don't come at this whole industry from a voice-first perspective. We come at it from a perspective of how is voice going to impact the interaction with all digital devices, right? And we're always being asked by our clients, what's the next big thing and what's a fad, right? And so if you've been at CES in 2013, 14, 15, you would have seen a lot of 3D televisions, and you would have heard a lot of pundits say that by 2022, 80% of American households are going to have a 3D TV. I don't have one. I don't know a single person that has one, right? And so that kind of begs the question, is voice a fad, right? And if you look at the data of how fast voice was adopted, kind of starting in 2015, 2016 through 2020, 2021, you see a deceleration, right? And we have to be intellectually honest about that as an industry, that there was something about voice that people really wanted, and they bought it. It was the fastest adoption of any new technology, any new device in history, and then it started to slow down. And we got to ask ourselves, what's going on? Is this a normal cycle, like the Gartner hype cycle, or is this a fad, right? And that's what we spend a lot of time thinking about, because our clients are asking us this question all the time. Should we invest in voice? Should we not invest in voice? What should we invest in? And so we've got a couple theories, right? And I think at the end of the day, it's based on two things. One is there's a lack of trust, and I'm going to talk about why that is, but there's a lack of trust in voice-only products. The second thing, and it's related in some sense to that, is we're not taking advantage of the key advantage of voice technology as an industry. We're just not right now. And it's partially because we're so hamstrung, or at least up till recently, have been hamstrung by what the giant players like Amazon, Apple, and Google have given us to play with. Any new tech requires trust, right? I'm always a believer that no matter how good the tech is, it's going to take a long time, often longer than we think, to get into the mainstream, not because of the tech itself, but because it takes a while for human beings to trust it. And I think autonomous vehicles is another example. 4 or 5 years ago, people predicted that by 2025, a third of all vehicles in the United States would be autonomous. We're probably 10 or 15 years out from that number because of the trust mechanism is just going to take longer to build. And so when you think about trust, right, you have to start breaking down what is trust? How do humans develop trust? And they really do it two ways. There's emotional trust, which is instinct. It's usually formed in a couple seconds. I know everyone here has already decided on an emotional level whether you trust me or not. Like that ship has sailed for whatever reason. And then there's cognitive trust. Cognitive is rational trust. That, at the end of the day, is based on, do you do what you say you're going to do over time? But when you first meet someone, you obviously don't have any basis for that. You can talk to other people, et cetera, et cetera. But so we got to understand this is how humans judge each other, and this is how humans are going to judge technology. And so we believe that up till now, we've ignored some pretty fundamental pieces of human trust.
Hello, Sophia.
Hello, Jimmy.
Wow. Long time no see. You were on the show before.
It has been exactly 575 days since I last saw you.
So what's going on here, right? This is the uncanny valley. So Japanese researchers in the 70s started developing this theory that the more human-like you make something, but it's not human, the more freaked out we get as people. There's all kinds of theories as why. It's because it reminds us of corpses, reminds us of zombies, like who knows? It's been well proven, well documented, that the more human you make something, even unless it's really, really exactly human, the less trustworthy it is to us, because all of a sudden all our alarm bells are going off, like this is weird, right? The other part of this that we need to know is when we're building voice experiences is that human communication, direct human communication, is largely not based on voice only. Depending on who you talk to, something like 70 to 90% of human communication is in paralanguage, right? That's why, for many of us running businesses, the early days of COVID were so hard. We were able to use Zoom over time to get some of that, but for many of us, we're trying to get back in the office 2 or 3 days a week to take full advantage of this, because Zoom only gives us partial advantage, and it's why you're all here. There's a reason everyone has traveled to be in this room versus just doing it on Zoom. The good news is that we have developed these tools over time. There is actually an emerging paralanguage with devices, with machines, right? And this is really, really important when you think about voice. And the reason that we think voice is a complement of the ecosystem versus a standalone product is largely because of this concept of paralanguage, which it could be a vibration, it could be a loading indicator, et cetera, et cetera. And getting all that right with the machine is a really, really critical part of voice interaction. And that's how you build that emotional trust, is that you start having a paralanguage in addition to pure voice when you're interacting with machines. The second thing is, why are we gravitating towards voice? It's speed at the end of the day. And it's speed of transmission from us to a device. We can speak at least 3 times as fast as we can type. And if we're on a mobile device, it might be 5 times as fast. And here's an example, and a shout out to our friends at Speechly that we worked to build this product with. It's obviously blinded from the real client, but take a look at this.
2 large pizzas with pepperoni, mushroom, and onion, thin crust. 1 medium meat lover's pizza, add mushrooms, no lamb sausage. 3 small margarita pizzas, no basil, add pepperoni, gluten-free crust.
All right, so 23 seconds to put in a fairly complicated order, right? A couple things you should notice while that's happening is there was a conversation going on with the device, right? On a real-time basis, you could see the type, what I'm saying is showing up in the device, and on a real-time basis, the screen's changing. So if you think about speed of communication, now you're having concurrent, simultaneous communication, right? It's not call and response anymore. It is real-time, simultaneous. To do the same thing, currently in mobile applications takes over a minute, right? Anyone who's been around the internet, digital, for any amount of time knows speed wins. So companies that launch services like this are going to crush companies over time that don't have services like this. It's exactly the same as when certain companies started migrating to mobile. Certain companies started migrating to the internet 25 years ago while others stayed with traditional phone ordering, right? That's what's about to happen, and that's what we're in the middle of right now. And it all comes back to what I said before. We can speak 3 or 4 times as fast as we can type. The problem with voice today is the reciprocal is not true. The problem is that we can listen much more slowly than we can read, right? And so the problem with voice-only interfaces is net, they're not any faster than what we've had in the past because they're forcing us to listen, right? No one wants to listen to Siri or Alexa to confirm an order. If I order 4 movie tickets for tomorrow night for 8 o'clock, I don't want Alexa to confirm that in some sort of lengthy thing. I just want to see it on a screen. If I ask Alexa what movies are showing, I don't want a list of 8 movies at 4 showtimes, right? This is the core data as to how voice is going to evolve over the next 3 to 4 years. We want, and we see it every day. Everyone loves speaking their text messages, right? I just drove here from Charlottesville. Half the time on the highway, I saw people next to me speaking to their phones, texting, right? Do you like listening to text? No, you hate it because it's slow. You want to read them. That right there. That's where everything's going to go. And consumers know it, right? Where we are going is we want to start speaking to our applications and our websites because it is so much faster than anything else we do. So here's some examples and some research from the field that we're doing right now with some of our clients, obviously blinded. But here's an example of a complaint.
I need the entire number, and I just can't locate it.
So these are concepts we call the long tail, right? Things that you don't need every day, but that are hard to find on a website or a mobile application. We do a lot of work in financial services. The average financial services app, banking app, has over 300 functions in it, 300 features. You can't organize that on a tiny screen. There's no way to find it. And people don't want to hit the find button and search. They don't even know what they're searching for, right? So if you can shortcut that, all that navigation, that's critical. So here's some examples of that. So one is creating a travel notice, right? Happens instantly. That's really hard to do when you trying to figure out, all right, I want to tell Amex that I'm going to be in Spain to not block my card. I should be able to do that with voice in 2 seconds. I want to lock my credit card, my debit card. That should take 2 seconds, and then you get the confirmation visually. I want to order checks. I do that twice a year. But you know what a giant pain in the ass it is to figure out how to order checks on your app or even the website? I just want to say, order me new checks. That's super easy to do. The second major use case is getting to the information that we need quickly.
Access the information you need quickly would be really awesome.
Show me my account balances.
Here are your WillowTree bank account balances.
Show me my transactions.
Here are your recent checking account transactions.
Dispute Oak City Realty charge.
Done. Check your WillowTree Bank mobile app to complete the dispute process.
So you're starting to see a conversation happening with a device that is not a two-way voice conversation. And that's really what's going to break voice wide open. And Brett was just up here. I think Brett knows more about this industry than almost anyone else. He's been following it forever. In 2019, so there was a debate in 2015 to 2020, which voice assistant was going to win. And so we believe that's kind of a fruitless debate because no one really wants a voice assistant for most things. And they're really, we might be 10 or 20 years away from making them good because they are completely, they have to simulate the entire human experience. They have to do everything from tell jokes, to tell you the weather, to get a sports score, to book your flight. That's a lot to do. Whereas if you're in an app, you already know what you're there for. You're there for banking. You're there for booking a flight. You're there for X, Y, Z. And the whole programming of these experiences is so much faster and so much easier and so much better. And so Brett, in 2019, said, we're going to have thousands of assistants. In 2021, he said we're going to have millions of assistants. Because at the end of the day, every app that we have is basically going to be an assistant for how we interface with that company. And it's going to be part of the ecosystem of the relationship that that brand has with their end customer. We're going to shortcut voice calls. We're going to complement what's already happening in the apps. And it's happening today. Like, we've been thinking this is going to happen for 2-3 years. These are all brands that have launched these kinds of experiences that I just showed you in the last 2 to 3 years. And so that's where we think the huge breakthrough in voice is going to happen. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Tobias.